Okay, man, I've said I won't do retakes and I'm starting to do it again. Damn. Okay, one was because of a hardware failure, because if you bend your SD in half, you maybe should not use it anymore, which I'm doing still now. So I hope the recording won't break, but I still made way too many retakes. No, so this one won't be one again. Okay, revisited review of the Huawei P9 Lite. So, what is a revisited review? I've reviewed this phone like 2 months ago, and I want to see how well it performs now, but I want to take into consideration what you told me in the comments. Maybe I misjudged a few things or didn't point them out well enough. That's what I'm going to take care of this time. Why did I choose this phone this time? For 2 reasons. First of all, after my initial review, I praised this thing like crazy and I recommended it above pretty much everything else. LG G4, Nexus 5X, Huawei G8, Honor 5X, above pretty much everything. And I thought maybe I was praising it too much. Maybe I didn't see the flaws as too much of an issue. I will check that this time. And the second reason is I want to pit it against the Alcatel Idol 4. And let's get actually into those 5 negative things that I've seen from your comments and that I knew already before, but maybe didn't point out well enough. So the first one is no Gorilla Glass. That is a bummer, definitely. I get that because it just isn't as scratch resistant, even though it has aluminum silicate glass. So don't worry maybe too much about it. Okay, the oleophobic coating isn't as good as on a Gorilla Glass device and it feels a little bit more hollow, but it still feels better than some of the cheaper non-Gorilla Glass phones. So it's not a deal breaker for me, but I get why it could be for some people, just to keep that in mind. The next thing is no gyroscope. I totally get why people are a little bit upset about that. I personally never used one, but just so you know, that is not available here. Also, no app to SD card movement, so you have to be stuck with the internal storage that you get with for your apps. And then the next thing would be no OTG. This definitely is a bummer for a lot of people because they used OTG. I personally don't, but I totally get why it should be there and I don't see a reason why it isn't here. Okay, next one would be a high SAR value. Not quite even sure if that's pronounced properly, but you get it. A lot of people said that the value is just too high compared to any other phone. For me, that's not a deal breaker. I never cared about that value. I never checked that value. So keep it in mind. And the last one would be, and I definitely get that one, a long charge. Because the first time a lot of people actually told me that can't be that it's that long, and I've rechecked it again with a few different charges and no, it's still 3 hours and 25, so 3 hours and 30, which is too long. I get that, but therefore you get great battery life. But this was my part of the deal breakers that could be. But if you still want to see what I think now about the rest of the phone, let's get into that here. Design and build quality, I still absolutely love it because we have this grippy, nice textured plastic bag that still feels very premium. Metal frame, doesn't bend, super solid. I love the button placement, volume rocker and everything, tactile feedback. Fingerprint reader still works absolutely fine. Even though, yes, it does work. Okay, as you can see here, not as fast as I had it in mind, but it's still top. The rest, everything is just nice. There is this lip that protects the screen. You could still use a screen protector if you want, because even with Gorilla Glass phones, I see a lot of people doing that, and notification LEDs there. And I still love the in-hand feel. Yes, it's not quite as compact as the P9 itself, but it does an absolutely amazing job. And I still, for this price range, won't really bash it for anything. Now, the display. What I didn't notice my first time that much is how actually oversaturated colors are. And I'm not saying they are too oversaturated, but they are more than, for example, I've noticed on the Alcatel 4, which is maybe more natural. But I think they still found the perfect balance in my opinion, because it is a little bit more boosted and therefore nicer to look at, but it's not on an AMOLED level or maybe Sony Xperia X Performance where everything looks like radioactive. So I still think they made a great balance here with an amazing white, still adjustable in the settings. The black is quite good. And we have still a little bit of IPS glow, but all that is definitely not a deal breaker. And I still would say this is one of the best possible screens you can get, especially, and not even for the price range, but in general, the screen could be even used in a flagship without any problems. So top here. Now let's get to the sound. And yes, here where the part where my actual recording stopped the first time. So sound, just real quick. No need to drag this any further, nothing has changed here. I don't think it's quite as loud as I had it in mind, but since then I've used the Alcatel Idol 4, which definitely sounds a lot better, but this one is still very, very loud, and it still sounds overall top. The headphone jack is still not the very best one, but not enough to be a deal breaker, so I still love the sound package. Just real quick for the performance, no apps are preloaded, so you can see the loading times, and I'm still absolutely more than actually just pleased. And I thought this was maybe something that I've missed after I, for example, reviewed the Honor 5C, because the Honor 5C, I said, lags a lot, and I thought maybe the Huawei P9 Lite lagged as well, and I didn't notice it that much, but no, it's all fine, because as you can see here, the scrolling here is very, very smooth as well. What it has is some lag, but it's a very smooth stutter, so like smoothened out, and you won't really notice it. It didn't definitely bother me, so I'm still totally fine with that, and I won't say that the performance isn't on top. It's still very close to a flagship, and I could use this as my daily driver as well, because as you can see here, very, very smooth, very snappy, very zippy, very responsive in terms of screen time. And what I like is that they changed a little bit in terms of the scrolling. Not always in a good way, but therefore it just doesn't seem that laggy. But it definitely feels a little bit different than stock Android does, so keep that in mind. But performance is still top notch. With the 3 gigs of RAM, it's fine. A lot of people asked me how the 2 GB version would compare. I would still say it will be maybe a little bit weaker than the 2 GB device with something more stock Android-like, but it shouldn't be enough of a deal breaker, because the apps still load fast enough. Of course, it's not as capable in terms of multitasking as the 3 GB version, but I definitely don't worry about that. Gaming performance is also still fine, no need to get into that, and it definitely is better than the Alcatel Idol 4 here. Battery life was something that I've bothered about, because recently all the phones that I've reviewed had bad battery life, really terrible battery life. Nothing has changed here. Yes, charging time is still long, with 3.5 hours, but therefore the battery life is absolutely top. This time even better, because I just yesterday reached more than 5 hours in mixed use. I could have even reached like 5.5, and with Wi-Fi I usually get even 1 hour more. So someone who's not me could even get more than 6 hours on screen time here, and in Wi-Fi more than 7 hours. So I'm still, even this time, more pleased with the battery life than the first time. Not sure why. Of course, it's always a little bit of a different use, but I totally love the battery life, and this is so good for this price. Top job. Software, no need to get into that. It's still EMUI, of course, and I'm actually looking more forward to the next UI from them, because they will switch the design more to something like stock Android-like, and you still have the theming engine to make it a little bit more stock Android feeling. And in the end, I still had to decide to go to Nova Launcher and make a few little adjustments, but the software is solid. It does what it has to do. It still has the RAM management thing and the battery management thing, where it just tells you this app drains so much battery, kill it off. But I got used to that after so many phones, so all good here. And the camera, I'm not making any sample shots here, is still absolutely more than satisfying, because it is really sharp. Overall quality is good, and if you want to see some more pictures, you will see them in the comparison, but it's still top. So just to get to the end, because I've already dragged this a little bit too far, am I still as impressed as I was the first time? And I have to say, absolutely. If you don't mind the 5 things that I've told you already, like no Gorilla Glass, no gyroscope, no OTG, the high SAR value, and the long charge, you will for this price get still the best you can get. Because just last week a colleague of mine bought it because I recommended him. Okay, it was on a deal for $222 instead, or euros instead of 270, but I said him, for this price you won't get anything that comes close to this in an overall experience, because everything is top and it doesn't have a flaw. He said he saw another review, which I didn't like so much. Why should he watch other reviews? He should just rely on my take. And he said, but they said something bad about the battery life. I said, the battery life is top, absolutely great. Yeah, but it's charging long, like 3 hours. And I said, yes, okay, it charges like 3.5 hours, but believe me, the long battery life will make up for that. And the rest is still just so great. Design, display, sound, performance, battery life. Software is even solid. Camera is, for this price, really, really good. No, I'm standing to that, and I will recommend it. And for all the people always asking me, should I get this or the G8? Get this. Should I get the Honor 5X? No, get this. Should I get the LG G4? Depends. If you want a maybe better camera or a little bit of some differences, I still get the LG is legit, but I would go for this. Nexus 5X, this. Yeah. Okay, a lot of people are saying I won't get it because of the gyroscope, because of the no OTG, but as I said, if those 5 points aren't of consideration for you, not bothering you, I don't see still anything better, and I thought at first maybe I've misjudged it, but no, I didn't. I seen the negative sides already the first time, but they don't bother me yet either, so I am done. Word it is, it's a top phone, and I would still recommend this over pretty much everything at this price range, not considering some of the Chinese phones, since I just can't take those into consideration. Okay, this was it. I hope you liked it. A little bit longer than expected, but yeah, that's me. I hope you enjoyed it. Thumbs up, subscription, comments, and all that. Until next time, bye.